Hi, my name is Farah Louis. I'm the co-host for Beyond Focus TV, and we have a phenomenal guest today by the name of Dr. Cari Jackson, who will be speaking about one of her books and about love, healing, responsibility, and getting over that hurdle and onto the next place in your life. We're going to go to a quick break and come back with Dr. Cari Jackson. Hi, welcome back. My name is Farah Louis. I'm your co-host for Beyond Focus TV, and today we are here with a phenomenal woman by the name of Dr. Cari Jackson. Dr. Cari Jackson, thank you so much for being with us today.
I'm delighted to be here.
And we are delighted to have you. So, they call you Reverend Dr. Cari Jackson. So, talk to us a little bit about being a Reverend.
Well, I've been ordained a little over 12 years now. Actually, I was ordained just a few days after September 11 tragedy happened in 2001.
Okay.
And I'm ordained in United Church of Christ and grew up Pentecostal. I've been a pastor in Presbyterian Church and in Methodist Church, on and on and on. I just love God, and the many ways that we as people come together and experience God is something that I celebrate.
So you have experience in multiple denominations?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Have you ever pastored a church or co-pastored a church?
Yes, I've been a pastor in 3 churches, and also I was a pastor at a seminary, Union Theological Seminary here in New York, where we train people for ordained ministry. And I've been the interim senior pastor here in Brooklyn at First Presbyterian Church in Brooklyn Heights. I was an associate pastor in a United Methodist Church in Manhattan.
Wow.
And I was a senior pastor at First Congregational Church in Stamford, Connecticut. And my joy about that experience, I was the first woman and the first person of color to pastor that church.
In Stamford? In
Stamford, and the church was formed in 1635, and so that was a huge experience for the community to have a woman and a person of color serving in that congregation.
That's a huge accomplishment. How do you feel about that?
I feel so honored about everything I've had the opportunity to do. I really do. And I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, in Pentecostal church, and very few examples of women in ministry, and where there were, none were pastors. And so it wasn't anything I imagined for myself. And when I was 19 years old and I knew God was calling me to ordain ministry, I told God no. And because I couldn't imagine it for myself, but also I said no because there were some things that I had seen where ministers were using their power, sometimes intentionally and sometimes not, but hurts were happening. And so I said, well, God, I love people. I don't want to hurt anybody. So it took me a long time before I finally said yes, and went to law school after undergrad. And it was really while I was in law school that I finally said yes to God about ordained ministry. And but then I said, but I don't want to do any more school after law school. But I did go to seminary, and then after seminary I pursued and then earned my PhD. So it's been a long, long journey.
So what triggered that when you were in law school? When was that epiphany? Like, yes, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to follow my calling.
Well, there were a few things. One, some people in my church had urged me to start a Bible study group, and I did, but my conditions were I will do it with someone else.
Okay.
And did it with someone else, fell in love with it, and it was a home-based Bible study group. And within a few weeks, we grew from 6 people every week to 25 to 27 people in my home every Friday evening.
Wow.
And I was just loving it, and loving it because I saw people taking the text and making it their own. Not just what somebody else told them it was saying, but really struggling with it and wrestling with it and that kind of thing. And I get excited about that.
Okay.
And as I kept doing that, and God was still for many years, sermons would come to my mind, and I kept saying no, but then it kept mounting, and I had recurring dreams in which I saw myself preaching, and in huge stadiums, and so I finally, and then I went to a healing service. One of the men in my Bible study group was about to go in the hospital for cancer surgery, and he asked me to go and receive and stand with him as he received laying on of hands for healing. And after the minister prayed for him, we were turning to go back to our seats, and the minister grabbed me by my arm and said, "God is making a way for your ministry." Wow. And I kept having a variety of those kinds of things, strangers stopping me on the street, and my pastor, and on and on and on, kept saying, "God's called you." And I kept trying to resist it, but there came a point that I couldn't any longer. And then that, with the incredible joy I was experiencing every week leading the Bible study, all together those things helped me say yes.
That was a lot of confirmation, revelations that led you to where you are right now.
It took a long time. It was 16 years of me saying no. But when I said yes, when I got to the yes, I was fully in.
I love that. I love that. So you speak about things that happened in the church while you were younger, things that you've seen. So I want to kind of go into a little bit about your book. Your book is called Love Like You've Never Been Hurt.
Yes, yes.
Is that journey, the things that you've seen, did that help with putting this book together?
Oh, very much so.
So talk a little bit about the book and how those two relate.
People ask me often, how long did it take me to write the book? And I have 2 answers to that. One is it took me 7 weeks, but it also took me 56 years. That's my age. Because since I was a little girl, I've been an observer of people. I've just been watching people and seeing human interaction and trying to understand it. And when I was in undergrad, I majored in psychology, and then something said, but I want to understand human behavior, but I need to see it and understand it in its social context. So I'm always looking at the intersection of the kinds of choices people make in their behaviors and what things in their environments make them more likely to choose certain behaviors.
Okay.
And so I've been studying that really all of my life. When I was a little girl, I observed a mother. I must have been about 8 years old. I was standing on the bus stop with my mother in Baltimore, and I observed a mother yelling at her child who had gone out into the street, into the potential path of danger. And the mother yelled at the child and cursed at the child. And I grew up in a home where my parents didn't curse. And so I didn't know quite what to make of it, that the mother was cursing at her child. Because I thought you curse at people who you don't like. That was my understanding. And so I'm this little kid watching this and trying to understand. And I said, oh, I think it's because she was angry. But then I thought, I'm 8 trying to figure stuff out. I said, but then the child is likely to grow up also cursing at people when she gets upset. And so over the years, I've observed the kinds of ways people relate with other people when they're anxious, when they're scared, when they're sad, when they're lonely, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And especially as a pastor, I've had plenty of opportunity to see that.
So hold that thought. We're going to go to a quick break, and I want you to integrate the two for us, for the audience.
Will do.
We'll be right back. Hi, welcome back. My name is Farah Louis, the co-host for Beyond Focus TV. We're here with Dr. Cari Jackson, who is phenomenal, and speaking to us about her book, Love Like You've Never Been Hurt. So,
thank you.
Explain, how did we get here to this book?
So all my life, looking at people making choices in how they were relating with individuals. As I grew as pastor, as I've been a manager in different contexts, et cetera, and in my own life, I've seen how when we're sad, when we're scared, when we're lonely, when we're angry, et cetera, that we can behave in ways that ordinarily we would not behave. And I cite myself as an example.
Okay.
I have been a calming presence in people's lives since I was a little girl. And I've understood myself to be peace and love. So when people have said to me over the years at various times, Cari, you're being mean, I didn't receive it. They weren't talking about me. That was their stuff that they were projecting on me, was always my understanding of it. And then I finally started getting it. I said, well, the common denominator, these various people who have said to you at times that you're mean, the common denominator has been you. And so I started looking at, so what has been going on in me in those times when I've been behaving in ways that are really not very common or very characteristic for me. And what I understood was when I was hurt, that I would then have what I call a knee-jerk reaction to love hurt.
Okay.
And everybody has them. And each of us has our knee-jerk reactions in different kinds of ways.
Okay.
There's not just fight and flight, there's also freeze.
Okay.
Some of us emotionally shut down when we've been hurt by love and can't even connect. We can't think.
Yeah.
Some of us become very combative and others of us run away. And so this book, Love Like You've Never Been Hurt, really helps the reader understand a few things. One, why did somebody who loves me hurt me? Understanding what their knee-jerk reactions were. And then also to understand, well, why did I hurt someone I love? What was going on with me? And in looking at all of those things together, I help people explore the kind of grieving that happens when you've been hurt in love and the defenses that we develop. I help people look at what's the spiritual learning that there might be for you when you've experienced love hurt. And also how to trust again, because trust gets...
Yeah, it gets lost.
It gets very lost and broken, and how to trust again, who to trust, and really explore all of those kinds of questions. And this book, what's really exciting for me about it is that men and women
both can read.
Are loving it.
Okay.
And saying, wow, I'm understanding some things that I've never understood.
Why is it both good for the men and the women?
Because it's talking about what it is to be human.
Okay.
I'm not focusing on love only from a woman's perspective, but from a human being's perspective. And there are stories in the book from the experiences of men and women, adults and children, parents and their children, partners, people, co-workers, on and on and on. And so in the stories, people get to see some things about themselves. And included in that, I look at some of the generational things that happen.
That trickle down.
That trickle down. Okay. So there might have been a love hurt that happened with grandparents that impact how they raise their children that impact how they raise their children, and then how each of those individuals partner in the world and all of that. And so I really help people unpack that and understand some dynamics in their families that they did not understand before. And so it's helping people really get some breakthroughs, and there's some reflection questions at the end of each chapter. I've written the chapters so if you're in New York City, you could ride on one subway and read a chapter, or during a lunch break at work, or whatever it is, because I think it's really important for people to understand. When we understand things, it shifts it tremendously in how we relate with it.
So does this book help with self-reflection?
Yes,
Okay.
very much so.
How?
Because by using the case studies, I call them, people are able, oh yeah, I do that.
Case studies with the examples in the book of people's lives that you,
Yes, so I present some observations that I've made over the years, and I present some stories that I developed, so people can see themselves and say, oh yeah, I do that, or my mother does that, or my husband does that, or whatever. And then as they look at that, because then it's easier sometimes to see it when it's those folks.
Then when
And then with the reflection questions, it helps people to bring it home. But then I also bring a lot of recommendations. So if this is your situation, how do you move beyond it, is
I
the
like
thing.
that. Okay.
Because I don't believe in, and I preach this way too, I don't believe in just inspiring people to something else, but then give people some practical strategies for how to make the change, because that's what I'm really focused on.
How to be more responsible about where you are?
And more responsible, but also more loving.
Okay.
Self-loving as well as others.
So I'm going to ask you a question.
Yes.
How do you love like you've never been hurt? How do you do that?
It starts with understanding why the hurt happened.
Okay.
When we understand it, it starts shifting things. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
There was a woman in the book who used to tell her sons all the time that men are no good. And she related with them that way, even though she loved them. They didn't grow up feeling very loved by her because of the kinds of things that she used to say. But what they didn't know was about the hurts that had happened in her life, in her relationships with men. And so even though she would say certain things to them and they didn't know what her story was, and they kept, one son in particular, kept trying to earn his mother's love. And then when he got married, his mother didn't like his wife. And so it was a whole bunch of dynamics going on. But they didn't know what their mother's hurt was. And she didn't know what her parents' hurt was.
Wow.
There was some old stuff running in the family that kept getting passed down generation after generation, and especially in certain communities, and definitely within black communities, families don't talk.
They don't.
We don't want to know certain stuff, but it keeps impacting
All the generations.
all of the generations and how people are relating with each other. And so the more you can understand, even if you don't know what the specifics were, because something folk in the family ain't going to give up the information.
Yeah.
So even if you don't know the specifics, you can say, oh, something happened that really resulted in my mother, my father, my aunt, my uncle, my grandparent, my spouse being very much in the knee-jerk reaction, the fight, flight, or the freeze. And that's why they're showing up in this way with me, not because they don't love me.
I like that. We're going to take a quick break, come back, and then get back to this explanation of love like you've never been hurt. We'll be back.
Okay.
Hi, welcome back, Beyond Focus TV. Farah Louis, your co-host, and we're here with Dr. Cari Jackson, and she's teaching us, explaining to us, how do you love like you've never been hurt? I need to understand that so that I can get over my hurt. So explain
I
to
wish
us.
we had more time.
I know.
But it's really about boundaries.
Okay.
What most of us do is completely run away, completely shut down, or become combative at every turn. What this book teaches readers to do is how to have healthy boundaries and stay in relationship with people in healthy ways. So, because when many people hear the words love like you've never been hurt, they think it means lie down like a doormat. And it does not mean
No.
that. And, you know, and let people treat you any kind of way. It's not suggesting that at all.
Okay.
But there's a certain trusting that we come here with when we've not been hurt before. And this is helping people learn how to regain that along with healthy boundaries. And so that's the key. So get it, and you'll learn how to do that.
Definitely. We'll speak more about this book in a while. We'll find out where we can go and get
Yes.
it. But you'll be speaking at a phenomenal event on June 15th. So
Yes,
talk to us
yes.
a little bit about that.
Yes, a sister friend, Andrea Amador, and I will be co-leading a retreat that's called Forgiveness is the Gift You Give Yourself.
Okay.
And in my book, I do a lot of work looking at the issues of forgiveness and how to actually forgive. And so Andrea and I together will be leading this retreat on June 15th at United Church of Spring Valley here in the state of New York.
Okay.
And it is an event especially for women. And so we're encouraging women to come and learn how to forgive. Again, it's the gift you give yourself, and some real strategies that will help people learn how to do that. So Saturday, June 15th,
At what time?
starting at 9:30, going to 1 o'clock. So just Saturday morning. And you'll leave transformed.
Definitely. I love seminars, and I just want to know, what can we expect at this seminar?
Well, we will be doing a few things. One, looking at what are the thoughts people have, because the thoughts we have really shape what our lives look like and how we respond to different things that happen in our lives. And so that's one thing. So if we hold on to the thought that forgiveness, for example, is being a doormat, then you're not going to forgive.
Yeah.
And all of the anger and hurt that you might have towards someone else stays as a
Internalized.
toxin in your own body and in your own life. So that's one thing we'll be looking at. And giving people some practical strategies how to forgive. And then Andrea specializes in a process that is mind and emotion that's called EFT. And I can't remember what that
it
stands
is.
for right now.
Okay.
But basically, it is a process that enables you to tap certain places in your body and release toxins. Toxins that come through the thoughts that we have, because our thoughts create certain chemicals in our body. Whatever we think, it releases either chemicals that help lift us up and improve our immune system and our happiness and all of that, or we release chemicals that depress us and that will really greatly impair our immune system, on and on and on. So she'll be doing a process focusing on that, because that's her area of specialization.
We cannot wait to come to this seminar.
It's gonna
there's
be
a
off
lot
the
to learn. We have a lot to learn, and I'm so happy that you are here with us today to talk about your book, to talk about the seminar. We'll definitely put up more information about the seminar on our website. Tell us how we can find you. How can we reach out to you? Where can we purchase your book, Love Like You've Never Been Hurt?
Well, the book is available on Amazon.com, and it is also available through bookstores if you ask them to order it, and then they'll get it in. So I hope you'll do that. It's not in libraries yet, but if you ask your library to buy it, they will buy it, and so I really encourage that. Or you can order it through my website, which is centerofspirituallight.org. centerofspirituallight.org. and you'll get to see some other books that I've written too. And but this one, already it's changing people's lives, and so I'm delighted about that. Helping people in all kinds of relationships, in spousal relationships, in parent and children, co-workers, on and on and on. Really relook and come with fresh understanding of what the hurts have been about. And because when somebody hurts you, it's not because they don't love you, but they're projecting their hurt out into the world and learning how to navigate that, because boundaries are important, very important. And so go on Amazon and be glad to have you read that.
I have 2 more questions.
Yes.
One question is, do church groups usually use this kind of book in order to help the youth with?
I have a number of churches across the country who have been inviting me to come and talk about that book. Some are all women's groups, some are with youth, some with mixed groups, and there's one congregation that I'm talking with the men's group about using it, because again, it's for people of all genders and all races and cultures and relationships and on and on and on. But not only churches, but I'd say any religious or spiritually based group, but any group that wants to help people live more free. And in the very last chapter in the book, I outline 20 different ways that life is improved when you learn how to love like you've never been hurt, and living with more freedom is one of the key things.
So, sorry, excuse me. Leave us with 3 main points you want us to leave with today that can empower us to move forward when it comes to getting over our hurt.
You can be happier than you've ever been when you let go of holding on to the anger and the bitterness that come from love hurt. Can be happier than you've ever been. 2, the person or people who hurt you, it's because they are hurt and they're trapped in their own pain. And 3, not any one of us is one-dimensional. Often we think that I'm all peace and love, which is what I used to think about myself. But we also have the capacity to hurt people. And those of us who have hurt people are not just that one dimension either. We have the capacity to love in deep and profound ways. So the more you're able to see yourself and other people in whole and multidimensional ways, it greatly leads to peace and joy and happiness and freedom, because then we're whole and we can let go of some things that have hurt us in the past. And I know you can do it, and each one of us has the power to make that choice. But happiness is a choice.
Yes. So thank you, Dr. Cari Jackson,
you.
for being with us today. We learned so much. We look forward to reading your book, Love Like You've Never Been Hurt. We look forward to coming to your seminar.
Thank you very much,
June
Farah.
15th. And any last remarks that you want to give to our audience?
Love really does change things. That's it.
Thank you so much. And I'm your host, Farah Louis. Thank you so much. We are here with Beyond Focus TV. Thank you.